What's up, guys? It is Prescott Season back again with another video. In this one, I will be giving my spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War. If you have not watched the movie already, I have a spoiler-free review, so you can go check that out. I'll leave the link to that in my description. But there is a lot that can be spoiled here, so I don't want to ruin any of that for you guys. So make sure you either watch the movie or you can watch the spoiler-free review. All that's good, but there's a lot to talk about. We're going to get right into it. I watched this movie for the second time on Friday, and it holds up. It's honestly better the second time. I feel like this movie is gonna be so rewatchable once it comes out on DVD, all that. It's gonna be just such a rewatchable movie. So yeah, we're just gonna get into it. The first thing, the whole scene in the beginning with the Asgardian plane, where it starts and Thanos has pretty much wiped out everybody. That was an insane scene. The whole Heimdall is already almost dead. He ends up dying anyways by sending Bruce back to Earth. That was crazy. It sucked to see Heimdall die. I was kind of expecting that, and then this whole scene was kind of the only thing that I was sure was going to happen. It's like kind of easy to figure out from the trailers and then the post-credit scene from Ragnarok. But I love how they ended Loki's story, how he went out a hero. You know, he tried to save the day, be the hero. Didn't really work out for him too well. Thanos kind of you know did away with him easily. But I like how before Loki did that when he was talking to Thanos, and the little parallel where he said we have a Hulk, because that's what Tony said to him back in Avengers 1. And I really liked the Hulk and Thanos fight scene. It was very, very good. Like, it was very steady, and it was very clear to see what was going on. And it was a really cool fight to see. I really enjoyed that a lot. But yeah, it sucked to see Loki die. I'm a huge fan of Loki, and it's just that's a good end to his story though. His arc from Thor 1 all the way to this has been complete. It's great. Such a good story for him. They did his character so well. So I'm really happy with how they did his character, but yeah, it sucked to see Loki go, but it has to happen. It had to be that way. But after that, Bruce gets sent down to Earth by Heimdall, and then he meets Doctor Strange and Wong. It's cool to see them kind of you didn't see much of a greeting from them, but then you see when Doctor Strange goes to find Tony Stark, and then you see Tony and Bruce's reuniting. That was cool to see. It's nice to see, and then you see kind of the back and forth between Steven and Tony. They don't like each other too much. Their egos kind of go at each other a little bit. But it was cool to see, all those introductions, all the Bruce and Tony reuniting. So that was cool. And then after that, the four of them, well, three of them, start fighting Cull Obsidian and Ebony Maw, because they are sent down to collect the Time Stone. So that fight scene was really cool, because then that's where Peter jumps in, and it's just a really cool fight scene. You start to see that the Hulk can't turn into the Hulk, so a problem for the rest of the movie too. But I enjoyed that fight scene a lot. Ebony Maw was very overpowered. I was surprised on just like how overpowered he was. He literally was just like, he looked so effortless when he was fighting with them, and it was just kind of like, this like, he does not give a shit. He's making it look easy. Cull Obsidian was just like a Hulk pretty much, just kind of being the bust him up kind of guy, beating him up, all that stuff. But it was really cool to see that fight scene. I enjoyed it a lot, and it leads to Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Spidey going up on the giant spaceship, because that's where Doctor Strange got taken. So Iron Man and Spidey follow, even though Spidey wasn't supposed to. Wong goes back to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and Bruce hints that he's going to call Steve Rogers. And then it cuts to the scene in Scotland, I believe it was. Yeah, it was Scotland, with Vision and Wanda, and they are attacked by Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive, the other two members of the Black Order. And just overall, I really enjoyed the Black Order. I was worried at first, because I was like, there's all these characters already, and then they're adding four more villains. I'm like, that could get. I felt like I thought they were going to end up pushing all four of the Black Order like to the back, and they didn't give them like any story or anything like that. But their characters were like so cool. I loved the Black Order a lot, surprisingly. But yeah, so then you see Wanda and Vision. They're all fighting. Vision gets stabbed, and then you see the scene where they're trying to rip the Mind Stone out of his head, all this stuff, and then the rest of the war criminals come out. You see Captain America come out of the shadows in such a cool scene. Sends chills down my spine the first time I saw that. I just so happy. Then Falcon and Black Widow come. That was an awesome fight scene. I love the Black Widow quote where she says, we don't want to kill you, but we will. if we have to, and then Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive leave. But they're all the five of them. They're all together, and um, Cap hints on heading home, and that's what they end up doing. But another thing, I want to put this out there. The list I made, it's probably out of order, like by the scenes. It's obviously it's not going to be so bad where I'm talking about like the ending of the movie, like right now. It's just a few scenes might be a little out of order. I don't remember the exact order of all the scenes, but it's in good enough that I'll be able to tell the story, so it's fine. After that, you see the Guardians meet Thor in a very funny scene. Peter's very jealous of Thor, because he's not anywhere near the size of Thor or the masculinity of Thor. I thought that was super funny. So it's fun to see them interact, them to meet. And then when Thor mentions the Avengers and Mantis refers to them, well, says like Kevin Bacon, and Thor goes, he might be in the on the team. I don't really know anymore. I thought that was super funny. But just overall, like a really fun scene between Guardians and Thor. I like that a lot. After that, you see Cap and the rest of the Avengers from Scotland make it back to the Avengers facility where James Rhodes is talking to uh, Ross, and they're talking kind of about the chords and where Vision is and where Cap is and how they're all criminals and stuff. And Rhodes is kind of talking about, kind of sounding like he almost regrets signing the Accords. He's kind of realizing that you tore this team apart, like that was your fault, Ross, for making these Accords, things like that. And the Avengers show up. Ross wants them arrested. Rhodes is like, yeah, of course, I'll get on that. Rhodes welcomes them back in, and then Bruce comes back. So you see reunions between all those characters. It was really cool to see. And then they start, kind of planning what they're going to do with Vision, and they figure out that, it's not just the Mind Stone that's powering Vision, so there's the possibility that they could, if they take the Mind Stone out, there's still Bruce, Ultron, Tony, Jarvis, all these different beings that are inside Vision that could keep him, alive. So that's their hope, is that they'll be able to keep Vision alive. And then after that, after you see that, you go back to the Guardians where Thor, Rocket, and Groot decide to go to the dwarf planet. It was a weird name. Didn't really. Yeah, it's just a weird name. I don't even know how to pronounce it. I'm not going to try. The dwarf planet, we'll call it for now. They go there to get the axe for Thor, while Gamora, Drax, Mantis, and Star-Lord go to nowhere because that's where Thanos is going to find the Reality Stone. And, you get to nowhere and you see Thanos is pressuring the Collector, trying to get him to give the Reality Stone. And so Gamora attacks. She ends up killing Thanos, which was very weird. Obviously, when that happened, that's not going to stick. And then everything turns red. Reality fades away. You realize Thanos already has the Reality Stone. Nowhere is destroyed. And a small little fight breaks out. But what ends up happening is Thanos uses the Reality Stone, gets rid of Drax and Mantis, takes them out of the equation, and it's just Star-Lord, Gamora, and Thanos. And, previously, if you've seen before, Gamora told Star-Lord to kill her if Thanos were to ever get her. And that's what she's asking her to do. It's a very emotional scene. That scene hurt bad. Seeing Star-Lord holding the gun to her and so like upset, and you could tell he knew he had to and he didn't want to, and when he was just like, he's crying and he says like, I told you to go right, like that hurt bad. And then he goes to attempt to shoot Gamora. Thanos uses the Reality Stone, turns the gun into bubbles, then he dips with Gamora. Drax and Mantis end up being okay, but a very emotional scene. And now, it's just the three Guardians. Gamora's with Thanos. That's crazy. So, after that, you go back to the scene in the giant donut spaceship where Doctor Strange and Ebony Maw are. And so, that's where Tony finds out Spidey's still there. They end up, a little quick fight scene with Ebony Maw. They end up killing Ebony Maw using Peter's alien reference. So that was cool. And then they kind of go back and forth. Tony and Doctor Strange, they don't like each other. You can tell from every scene they're in. They are not fond of each other. So that was cool to see. And then after that, you get a flashback scene back on Gamora's planet when she was a little kid, where you see Thanos, wiping out half of her planet, and where Thanos originally meets Gamora. And so it's a little flashback of how that all started, things like that. So that was cool to see. And then you see where Gamora knows where the Soul Stone is. She's trying to play it off, she doesn't, but Nebula has a memory function since she's a android. Um, and you see that Gamora does know where the Soul Stone is, and she is forced to tell Thanos where it is, or he would have killed Nebula. So it's cool to see, like Gamora is willing to, protect her sister. They've had a good character arc between the two of them, so I like that a lot. But so yeah, we know where the Soul Stone is. I like that they did it. Everyone had these theories this whole leading up to it. I personally thought Heimdall was the Soul Stone, or he had the whole Soul Stone with his eyes being yellow, and he could see all these other people. That was my prediction. But the fact that they put it somewhere where literally no one would have guessed, I liked a lot. That was really cool. You know, so it wasn't like it was like some significant place, but it was just kind of like, that made more sense, if anything. The fact that it hadn't actually shown up before, like they were right, we had never seen the Soul Stone, so that was cool. After that, it goes back to the donut ship. I'm just gonna keep calling it that because Tony did, and I liked that a lot. And the Guardians come in, they fight the Avengers. That was awesome. I loved seeing that. Star Lord going at it with Tony and Peter, all them fighting together. That was really cool. And then you see, where Star Lord has his gun to Peter's head, Tony has his gun to Drax's head. It was just very cool scene and very fun, like conversations between all them. And eventually, Peter's like, "We're the Avengers, man," and then they realize they recognize that because of Thor, and then they all start talking about what's going on. They kind of figuring out a plan and working together. Pretty much, they've decided they're going to work together from there on out to stop Thanos. So that was cool. Their fight was really fun to see. It was just cool to see them all finally meet together. So that's cool. Um, After that, they all end up on Titan because they know that's where Thanos is gonna be. So they're gonna try to find Thanos and bring the fight to him pretty much. And you see Doctor Strange, he's using some of his powers where his head is shaking, he looks weird, spazzing out, and you see the whole where he travels to the future and sees all 14 million and whatever it was possibilities of how Infinity War could go, and the fact that the Avengers only win one of them. So the odds aren't in the Avengers' favors, but there's a chance, and that's all that matters. When there's a will, there's a way, and all that good stuff. Um, After that, you see, I'm gonna just call them the Earth Avengers because there's the one team on Earth, the other team on Titan. So the Earth Avengers, they travel to Wakanda to try to save Vision because they're so high tech and all that. And then you see Shuri embarrasses Bruce with kind of figuring out what to do super easily, and Bruce is like, "Oh yeah, I didn't think of that one." So that was funny to see. Good little scene. I love Shuri, so it's cool to see her, even though she wasn't a huge part, but it was very cool to see her. So that was fun. And then one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, the Vormir scene with Gamora and Thanos. That was, first off, I wasn't expecting this huge, intense thing. They get there, and this guy in this cape comes up. He's looking really ominous, talking about how there's a price for the Soul Stone. I thought he's just some, stone keeper. Then you see his face, and it's the red freaking skull. All the way back from Captain America, the First Avenger, when the Space Stone sent him away. I thought he just evaporated or something. No, he went to space. He was on Vormir this whole time. And that was such a cool twist that I enjoyed so much. I really never would have guessed that. I saw someone kind of bring it up, and I was like, that'd be cool, but I don't think they would do that. But that was really, really cool to see Red Skull back. I enjoyed that a lot. And then you get the price for the Soul Stone, which is a soul. A soul for a soul. You have to sacrifice something that you love for the Soul Stone. And Gamora, that makes her so happy. Because she believes that Thanos doesn't love anything. And then you get one of the craziest scenes that I would never have expected this scene. Like this whole scene in general, just Red Skull coming back, wouldn't have expected that. And then seeing Thanos cry because he knew he had to kill Gamora, and he genuinely loves Gamora apparently, was so cool. I love that so much. They gave Thanos so much character development. That freaking grape looking bitch got so much development and so much story characterization for his character. I loved so much. That was probably my favorite part of the movie, is just Thanos in general. And yeah, so you realize he apparently loves Gamora, and that's what he knows. He's gonna have to sacrifice her. He says, "I'm sorry, little one." He's crying. It was a heartbreaking scene. Like I felt for Thanos in that situation. That was absolutely insane. I never assumed that I'd be, sympathizing with Thanos in this movie. Like I've sympathized with other Marvel villains. Killmonger was one you can sympathize with, Loki as well. Did not expect to sympathize with Thanos even just for a second. So that was really cool. And then Thanos tosses Gamora off the mountain, and she is dead. Thanos collects the Soul Stone, and he now has 4 out of the 6. The last 2 remaining, one with Vision and the other with Stephen Strange. So he's collecting the stones fairly easily, but what else would you expect? I kind of assumed it would be like that, but I kind of assumed that he would have 5 and the whole third act would be getting the last one, which was pretty much what it is, but it was also a mix of getting the 5th one as well. So they did it really. I enjoyed how they did it. They didn't drag out him getting the stones. After that, you see Thor on the dwarf planet. Thanos had wiped everyone out except for one of the dwarves, but he did take his hands. But Thor ends up getting Stormbreaker anyways, the axe that he claims can kill Thanos, all that. And he has to, he holds the thing so that the star can shoot through and melt the metal made that is need to make it. That was cool to see. Thor in this movie is just amazing. He is. Back in Thor Ragnarok when he tried to say strongest Avenger and the Quinjet said that was incorrect or whatever. No, Thor is the strongest Avenger, no doubt. It's not even close, no question. Thor in this movie is so insane, and they did his character so well. I love it so much. But yeah, so they couldn't find the handle after the hammer was actually made. The axe, I mean. Groot uses his arm to use as the handle. That was cool. So Thor gets a new hammer, a new axe now called Stormbreaker. Really freaking cool. He gets his electricity powers with it, and it's about to go down. So then back in Wakanda, you see Proxima Midnight and Cole Obsidian show up, and they're like, all right, we're coming in, but they have that huge barrier. So the little alien things are having trouble getting in, but then they decide to try to go around the back, and if they do that, they have a straight shot to Vision, who pretty much everyone at Wakanda is just trying to protect Vision to get that stone destroyed so that it's impossible for Thanos to get 6 Infinity Stones. So they see that they're going out around the sides, so Black Panther opens up the gate so that they can come through the middle, and the whole fight starts. Very intense fight. A lot of really, really cool, team ups when that all happens. Like first you see Cap and T'Challa fighting together. That was awesome. Them running together ahead of the whole group. I loved for some reason, just like how fast they were going. And, I love both them. They are so great. Cap and T'Challa are just freaking fantastic. Thor shows up with Groot and Rocket. Freaking lightning going everywhere, taking out all these aliens. Bruce gets all excited. Bruce is wearing the Hulkbuster armor because he's still struggling to turn into Hulk. But he's wearing the Hulkbuster armor, which is awesome to see. That was really cool. He gets all excited. He says, oh, you guys are screwed now. That was hilarious. You see another cool team up with Rocket and Bucky where Bucky lifts up Rocket and spins him around as they're shooting a bunch of the aliens. That was cool to see. A fun team up. And then Rocket asks how much for the arm. That was funny. He's got his little prosthetic fetish. I like that they're, they keep adding little jokes in like that. That's really funny. Like they do when Thor gets his eye, he makes another joke about going for prosthetics, things like that. So yeah, Thor has 2 eyes again. All right, that's cool. So that whole fight's going down. Everyone's fighting. Everything's going great. And then the big guy shows up on Titan, and they have this huge plan. It seems like it's about to work. Everyone's fighting. All that's working out, and they have him. Mantis is on him, puts him to sleep. Star-Lord has one arm down with his electricity thing. Peter and Tony are pulling the gauntlet off, trying to get it off. And Nebula shows up in the fight too. She's there. And Peter starts asking, where the hell is Gamora? And Nebula figures it out because she knows what goes on in Vormir. Thanos, admits that he did kill Gamora. And all hell breaks loose. Tony notices too, and he's telling Peter, calm down. We almost have the gauntlet. Just calm down. You're going to be fine. Peter doesn't calm down. Peter freaks the hell out. Thanos wakes up, and all hell breaks loose. The fighting after that, it was a mess. Peter's going around saving some of the Guardians, saving Mantis from falling to her death after getting whacked away from Thanos. After Thanos hits Nebula, Drax, and Peter with the Power Stone, they're all knocked out, flying around, stuff like that. Peter's trying to web them around, keep them safe. Doctor Strange showing off some very cool new powers. That was fun to see. And then you see Tony Stark go one-on-one with the Great One. He takes on Thanos. They're having a very, very good fight. Tony is holding his own. And until eventually Tony pulls out a new sword he has, goes to stab Thanos. Thanos turns it around into Tony. And Thanos, just, it was a mess. Peter um, and stabs Tony Stark. Thanos starts to give a little speech about how he respects Tony Stark and he's known who Tony Stark was since the attack on New York, and he respects him for how he fought, things like that. And he's talking about how that he hopes the half of humanity remembers Tony Stark because he respects him, all that. And Doctor Strange comes back when earlier in the movie he told Tony and Peter, if I have to choose between saving your life, saving the kid's life, or saving the soul stone, the time stone, I will not hesitate to let either of you die. Talking about how he's going to protect the time stone with his life, with all he can. Where Doctor Strange says, "I will give you the time stone if you let Tony live," which ends up happening. Doctor Strange gives away the time stone. Tony ends up living. Tony looks over at Doctor Strange. He's like, "Why would you do that?" And Doctor Strange says, "We're at the end game now." So, he did see one possibility where they win. For all we know, that's the possibility. That's my theory, is that, he knows what he's doing. He knows that Thanos has to get the time stone. In the long run, it'll work out. Everything will work out. He's trying to create a path to the one way they can win. So, it's cool. I don't know if Tony fully caught that. It took me after the movie, after I first watched the movie, I started to realize, I was like, okay, so that could be why he gives up the time stone. That makes sense. So then it cuts back to the Earth Avengers, and they pretty much handle the rest of the Black Order. Okoye, Black Widow, and Scarlet Witch kill Proxima Midnight. Bruce in the Hulkbuster armor kills Cull Obsidian. And then Vision kills Corvus Glaive after Corvus Glaive invades where Vision's at, and he doesn't get to finish his process. So he still has the stone in his head, but Vision saves Cap, kills Corvus Glaive. The rest of the Black Order is dead. All that's left is the big guy, and then he shows up, and he's got 5 stones at this point, and he is just having his way with the Avengers. He's tossing them all around. It's slow motion. It's dead silent. It's just, he is having his way with that team. And the one thing I didn't like about it is because in the trailer, when you see the scene where Cap is holding up Thanos' hand after, Thanos trying to punch him or whatever, I was like, that is going to be such an intense scene. Thanos going one-on-one with Cap. I'm so excited for that because, I love Cap. So seeing that would have been awesome. Then they did it in slow motion with no sound, and it wasn't as intense. And then Cap got, knocked out seconds after. So, I don't know. It's a little anticlimactic for me, but that's okay. Right after that, Vision tells Wanda that she has to kill him. So Wanda does. A very sad scene there too. Wanda kills Vision. But Thanos has the time stone, goes back a few seconds later, and then we have to watch him kill Vision again. So we watched Vision die twice in the span of like 2 minutes. That freaking sucked, but I liked that they did. What I was like hoping to see, obviously I really liked Vision. I didn't want him to die. But I was like, if he's going to die, I hope it's some cool scene where Thanos freaking rips the stone out of his forehead and he just drops dead. And that's literally what it was, and I loved that. That was cool to see. Thanos gets all 6 of the Infinity Stones, and all he needs to do now is snap his fingers, and half of humanity is wiped out. But all of a sudden, freaking Stormbreaker comes flying in, stabs Thanos in the chest. Thor comes in, starts pushing in further, talking about how, I told you I was going to kill him. I was going to kill you. And Thanos replies with, "You should have aimed for the head." Snaps the fingers. Everything goes black. Thanos ends up in kind of like a dream state where he sees Gamora, and she's when she's younger, and she's like, what did it cost for you to do this? And he replies with everything. And then it cuts back to Thor and Thanos. The Infinity Gauntlet is, toasted. It's like destroyed. It was very weird. And Thor goes, "What did you do?" Like realizing that he pretty much just won. And then Thanos uses the Space Stone, disappears, and everyone's just confused. Cap's asking where he went. And then one of the craziest scenes, probably the craziest scene I've seen in an MCU movie. You hear Bucky go, "Steve," you turn, and Bucky's hand is dissolving, and then he just drops and dissolves into dirt, and he's just gone. And at first, when I first watched this movie, I didn't see Thanos snap his fingers. I was expecting at one point Thanos was going to snap his fingers and all that was going to go down, but I didn't see him snap his fingers there. I thought he clenched his fist, and I thought he was going to punch. So then when everything went dark, I was like, what the hell just happened? It took me a little bit to understand, and then I saw Bucky disappear. I'm like, what the what is going on? Like I just pure shock when Bucky disappeared. After that, they all a bunch of them just start dropping like flies. Black Panther goes to grab Okoye. Black Panther dissipates. Sam's walking around. Rhodes is looking for him. Sam disappears, and then another freaking heartbreaking scene. Rocket has to watch teenage Groot die, freaking as he disappears. We've had to watch Groot die twice now. So is Rocket. Just give us a freaking break, God. Like stop killing Groot. I don't like teenage Groot near as much as I like the original Groot, but like stop killing him, Jesus. Um, Scarlet Witch disappears. I'm trying to think if there's any other big ones for the Earth Avengers team. Don't think there are. And then it goes back to Titan, where Mantis starts to, something's not right with Mantis. She disappears, and they start to realize what's going on. Doctor Strange um, looks over at Tony and says it has to be this way before he disappears. Then you see Drax. He disappears. He goes out saying Quill. That, like, I'm a huge fan of Drax, and that, like, genuinely, like, that broke my heart. Just him saying Quill. Like, it was kind of like how Bucky said Steve. Like, I don't know. That hurt. I like Drax a lot, and that hurt me bad. And then Peter Quill disappears, and Tony, telling him like, just stay still. You'll be fine. He's not fine. Peter Quill disappears, and then the most heartbreaking fucking scene in the movie. You hear Mr. Stark. I don't feel so good. Tony turns around, and you can tell Peter's starting to disappear. He hasn't yet. But I was looking into it, and it's because, his Spidey sense, he noticed something was wrong before he actually started to disappear. He goes and hugs hugs Tony, saying, Mr. Stark, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. He lays down and goes, I'm sorry, Tony, before fading away. God, that hurt so bad. That was such a heartbreaking scene to watch. Because this whole time, in all the movies that Peter has been in. He's starting to show bravery through all these. He's getting stronger. He's getting more brave throughout the movies. And, he's starting to become a badass. And then when he's finally faced with death, he goes back to being a little kid. And that broke my freaking heart. And knowing how much that hurt Tony as well is just so hard. Literally, it's only Nebula and Tony left on Titan. And it's just such an insane scene. Obviously, they killed so many new characters that this isn't going to stick. This is going to be reversed in the fourth movie, I'm almost confident of. But I like what they did because what I think they're doing is, you notice they kept pretty much all the OG Avengers apart from like Rocket Raccoon. But they kept all the OG Avengers, Hulk, Thor, Cap, Iron Man, Rhodes. So it's all the OG guys. So what I'm kind of guessing they're going to do is the fourth movie is going to be centered around the OG Avengers. Obviously, they're going to have some other characters like Captain Marvel is going to show up. Ant-Man's, there's been behind the scenes photos of Ant-Man there. So I think it's going to be centered around the OG Avengers, but, there's going to be the few other characters in there. So I like that they did that. They're kind of, because, that's the end of Cap's contract. That's the end of Iron Man's contract. I'm not sure on Thor and Hulk, but I kind of feel like that might be the end of their story too. So they're kind of sending the Avengers off, in one big last movie, giving them the focus, and I like that they're doing that, so I'm very excited for Avengers 4. It is going to be quite the ride. The only thing I'm worried about is I feel like since, for me, the ending of this movie is so great that I feel like in the next movie when they reverse it, it's going to like take away from this ending. But I don't know, I could 100% be wrong about that. We'll just have to wait and see once Avengers 4 comes out. But that's the entirety of the movie, and then once you wait until the very end of the post-credit scene, you see Nick Fury and Maria Hill. Everything's going crazy in New York. They don't really have knowledge of what's going on. They don't know Thanos has all these stones. I don't even think they understand that Thanos is the one behind all this, all that stuff. Maria Hill fades away, and then, Nick Fury realizes they're in dire situation. He goes to grab a little pager thing. Nick Fury fades away. They get in an almost motherfucker from Nick Fury. That was funny. Almost got it in. The pager falls to the ground. It says it's sending, so obviously he got his message off in time. Boom, Captain Marvel logo pops up, and then you see Thanos will return. Wow, that was a film. That's it. That's Avengers Infinity War. It's quite a movie. That was a freaking masterpiece. I think that will go down in history as one of the greatest movies of all time. It's already making all this money. It's already broken box office record, the record for opening night domestically and internationally. it's breaking records. This I think will go down as one of the greatest movies of all time. You know, like how the original Star Wars movies are for, you know, older people now, even like younger people like me, how it's just kind of like a legendary movie. Like I look back at the Star Wars movies, which came out, years before I was born, but I look back and I'm like, those movies are legendary. They will be in history forever when it comes to movies. I think years from now, Avengers Infinity War will have that same impact. And I love this movie. I'm be honest, I had to see it a few more times. I have to, give it some time because I'm still on that Infinity War hype right now. I have to give it some time to kind of, you know, realize if it actually is. But as of right now, I think it might be my new favorite Marvel movie of all time. Um, which I never thought would happen. Honestly, I did not think anything would go higher than Winter Soldier. So that's why I'm, saying for now it is. But that could change after time, and I've started to come down from the hype I'm on right now. Because right now, I'm hyped I'm hyped because of this movie. But overall, yeah, I give this movie 5 stars out of 5. I think this was a perfectly made movie almost. There were so many ways this movie could have failed, and it didn't. I talked about that a little bit in my spoiler-free review, but this movie just it hit on every single aspect in my opinion. So yeah, that is my review of Infinity War. I think it's great. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought of Infinity War. You liked it, you hated it. Just let me know. I want to see your guys' opinion on the movie. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and that is all. Thank you.